Hello, and thank you for joining us today. We're here at Florida Closing and Escrow with John Ioannou, who was voted top 50 real estate attorneys in Florida. And we are the only title company in Sunny Isles. We're multilingual, we're mobile, wireless, paperless, remote. We're here to assist you with your title and closing success. And we can be reached at 954-821-4166 is John, and I am at 786-457-6832, Cindy Miracle, Marketing Liaison. And we have a lot of tools to assist you with your title and closings locally and or from out of state or out of country, residential and or commercial. And today's topic is the new law and as-is contract updates. So thank you for joining us, and please contact us to assist you from contract to closing. Thank you very much.
We're talking about revisions to the as-is contract. Good?
Yes.
Okay, good. So it's the bottom of the page that's been revised on page 1. That's all the way through page 12. Page 12 has been revised to have the signature lines now on page 13. And so when we get to page 13, we're going to talk about this box right in the middle of the page, right above the signature line. So again, it says attention seller and buyer, conveyances to foreign buyers. So that's what the new law is, conveyances to foreign buyers. Part 3 of chapter 692, it's a new law, sections 201 through 205 of the Florida statutes, limits and regulates the sale, purchase, and ownership of certain Florida properties by certain buyers who are associated with a foreign country of concern. And then they list what those foreign countries of concern are. The People's Republic of China, the Russian Federation, the Islamic Republic of Iran, Democratic People's Republic of Korea, the Republic of Cuba, the Venezuelan regime under Nicolas Maduro, and the Syrian Arab Republic. So there's 7 countries of concern. And it's just these 7 countries. Any other country, it's business as usual. Canada, any other country can purchase without any issues. It's just these 7 countries. There is now restrictions on what people from these countries can buy. The next line says that it is a crime to buy or knowingly sell property in violation of this act. So that's why it also concerns sellers. If sellers know that a buyer is from one of these countries, sells it to that person, they're in violation of this law. Buyers, definitely, if they know they're from these countries and buy, it's a violation of this law. And there are certain penalties regarding violations, one of which is $1,000 a day fine. The other one, which is the big one, is the property can be forfeited to the state. The state can actually take the property. So that's why we have to be very careful on what we as Florida realtors are telling our clients, what you should tell them and what you should not tell them. Here's an advice: don't tell them anything. Just what you can do is you can ask them, if you have a buyer who comes to you and says, I'm looking to buy, you can ask them, there's a new law that just came out, are you from one of these 7 countries? If they say no, you're good to go. You cannot ask them where are they from, because that's going to violate some anti-discrimination laws for national origin. So you just cannot say where are you from, but you can say, are you from one of these foreign countries of concern? If they say no, like I said, business as usual, you're good to go. If they say yes, your next sentence, what you're going to tell them next is, you must speak to an attorney to determine if you can purchase property in Florida. And that's it. And they're going to say, why, what do you mean? This is new law. Can you explain this new law to me? No, you cannot. What does it mean? What if I'm 50% there, 50% here? No, do not make those
Dual
determinations.
citizenships.
Dual citizenships, all those questions, do not make that
So
determination.
it relates even to dual citizenship?
So if they're a U.S.
You're,
citizen,
what I'm saying is you as a realtor are not gonna,
We're not
determine
gonna answer,
that,
but I'm
yeah.
asking you now, if someone has a dual citizenship.
so we're gonna go over what qualifies as an individual being from one of these foreign countries, okay?
Question, what type of lawyer do they need to be referred to?
I would suggest a real estate attorney, but it can be any attorney who's knowledgeable in this law. So it's basically a law on the books, and most attorneys are familiar with most laws. Obviously, sometimes criminal lawyers don't know real estate law, and us real estate attorneys, we don't know criminal law, but they could familiarize themselves with this law and they can give advice on it if they feel comfortable doing so. So mainly a real estate attorney.
And what most title company connected to real estate?
I would say title companies, I wouldn't say most, not a lot of title companies have attorneys that own the company or work with the company. But the title companies that do have attorneys on staff, yes, most likely they will know about this law. We here, of course, they can contact us, myself or Anthony. We're well versed in this law. This is actually my 5th presentation about this, so I know a lot about this.
So the immigration attorney.
Immigration attorney, that's a good question. They might, but then it's for the purchase of land. So they might say, you might want to talk to a real estate attorney. It depends, but it's not a bad idea too. They should know about this since it does deal with foreigners. Whether they're comfortable giving advice about it, that's up to them. Okay, so continue on with the box. The next line says, at time of purchase. So what that means is when they sign a contract, they can be foreigners. Maybe they're in the process of getting a green card or getting a U.S. citizenship. It's at time of purchase. So it's at time of closing whether we're going to make a determination if that person is a foreigner or not. Buyer must provide a signed affidavit which complies with the requirements of the act. Seller and buyer are advised to seek legal counsel regarding their respective obligations and liabilities under the act. Okay, so what does that affidavit look like? It's actually on the next page of your all's handout. And it looks like this. This is going to be prepared by the title company, so you as realtors don't have to prepare it. And it's going to be part of the closing package. And basically, it's going to say that number three says that either I am not a foreign principal defined under this act, or 3 says I am a foreign principal, but I am in compliance with the requirements set forth in the law. And in the law, there is an exception to some of this that we're talking about. So they're going to sign this, and then it's going to be notarized. Okay, so let's dive into what the law is and what a foreign person is, and that's on the next page. So at the top of the next page, it says Florida now restricts the sale of property to foreign principals. And again, it lists what those foreign countries are, and it's China, Russia, Iran, Korea, Cuba, Venezuela, and Syria. So what is a foreign principal, or who is a foreign principal? Next paragraph says, buyers are a foreign principal if any of these apply to them. So the first one is the government itself. So most likely that's not going to be an issue for you as a realtor, having the government contact you. A political party from one of those countries, that's probably not plausible as well. But the next 3 are important to you, C, D, and E. And that is foreign corporations or LLCs from one of those 7 countries are considered a foreign principal when they have a principal place of business in one of those foreign countries. D says any person who is domiciled in a foreign country of concern, so from one of those 7 countries, and is not a citizen or lawful permanent resident of the United States. So if you have a buyer who lives in one of those 7 countries and is not a citizen or does not have a green card, then they are considered a foreigner. Now, can they live in one of those countries and have a U.S. Citizenship, yes, they're not considered a foreigner. Can they have a green card and just temporarily living in one of those countries? Yes. But if they live in one of those countries and are not citizens of the U.S. or have a green card, they are considered a foreigner.
So any other visa status, they're not.
Correct.
Okay.
And there is an exception. We'll get to that in the next slide here, but correct. This is what is considered a foreign person. And then E says that, let's say this foreigner opened up an LLC or corporation in Florida. So it's a Florida LLC or corporation, but it's still owned by a foreign person or foreign corporation. That's still considered a foreign principal. Okay. So now we know where the 7 countries are, and we know who and what is considered a foreign principal. The next page is going to tell us what and what they cannot buy in Florida.
What page?
So the next one at the top, it's going to say if a buyer is a foreign principal. So this is actually the last page of your.
I think we
Yeah,
had
the last page,
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah,
that was our last page.
yeah.
Not this, that's what we're going to right now.
Oh, okay.
We should have
You
one
don't
more.
have the page.
Yes, we should. Amina. Where's that last page? Okay.
So I wonder.
What
All right,
about-
we'll get it to you guys. Never mind. I'm okay. Thanks.
What about owner, like from this country that they own already like 2 or 3 properties here in the States?
Right. So the good news is current owners prior to July 1st can keep their properties.
Okay,
However, they need to register their ownership interest and the property address with the state of Florida. However, that registration website is not up yet.
Okay, up to the end of the year, right?
We have until the end of the year to do
January
that.
1st.
So what basically it's going to say is if you're a foreign person, we want to know your name and we want to know the address of the property. And that's registration.
So any additional properties, then they have to
Then they might
go
not
through
be
the
able.
process of
So-
the lawyer.
Right. So then it depends because in this slide, and we'll get it to you next time or after we finish here, is these foreign principal people cannot buy agricultural land whatsoever. It's full restriction on agricultural land. So if the buyer says to you, hey, I am a foreigner and I want to buy agricultural land, no, the law says you cannot do it, full stop. Next, if the buyer is a foreign principal, they are prohibited from purchasing or acquiring any interest in real property in Florida within 10 miles of a critical infrastructure facility or military installation.
and
So
who needs to
how crazy
know-
is that?
Who needs to know where? I
Right.
There's
So-
no map or anything.
Pretty much
The,
everything is like 10 miles, there's something, 10
Right.
miles, something, there's something.
right,
They
Every
said
10 miles.
10 miles, yeah.
within 10 miles.
So it's like 10
It's a
miles
radius,
here, 10
it's a
miles
radius,
here,
right? Yeah.
basically.
So 20-mile diameter.
So, and what they classify as critical infrastructure facilities is a chemical manufacturing facility, a refinery, electrical power plant, I'm sure those are around here a lot,
Yeah.
water treatment facility or wastewater treatment plant, I'm sure there's a bunch of those around.
Yeah.
Liquid natural gas, I don't even know if we even have those around here.
But-
Telecommunications central switching office.
But who is responsibility to know all of
Right,
They
so,
ask probably.
no, so that's the thing.
That's not all, huh?
That's why when they say they're a foreigner,
Yeah.
talk to an attorney. And so now I will go through these kind of situations, but there's more. So there's a gas processing plant, seaports. So we have 2 of those for Lauderdale, Miami.
They just can't buy here,
It's,
bottom line.
Spaceport, right? I think we have one in Cape Canaveral, right? So that's not really an issue. Airports, so Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and we have the
There's a lot of
right,
different
the executive airports.
Executive airports as well.
So what we're hoping is what they're doing with the Patriot Act search, we as a title company, we do searches to make sure a buyer and seller are not terrorists. We basically put their name in a database and it comes back yes or no. We're hoping the government has a similar website where we put in an address and they tell us whether it's within this law or not. we as attorneys and you as realtors, we cannot make that determination as of right now, because what actually does 10 miles mean from the airport? So from the middle of the airport or from the outer edges of the airport? And then what, from the middle of the property or the outer edges? Is it 9.9? Is it
Community versus a
10.1?
house. Yeah, a lot of.
And a lot of these critical infrastructure facilities, we purposely don't know where they are.
Yeah,
I'm
some
sure they're
military
not
bases
even.
that we don't have addresses for.
Right.
That's not public knowledge.
And
So
that's just land, that's not
No,
property, that's
property.
everything.
everything,
Okay.
Condo, house.
Correct.
Okay.
yes. So that's why it's important right now, definitely as realtors, just to say you need to speak to an attorney. And we're hoping, I mean, it's July 13th right now. We haven't seen or heard anything from the government about a
I have a
website.
question about that part, speaking to the attorney. And if they're gonna say, it's fine, let me proceed. Can we still do the showings with them and everything, or?
It's difficult for us
I
because
think
we've been
that-
You
told.
get a
no, we have to
determination.
basically tell them, I tell you to talk to an attorney, I'm gonna lose another client.
Yeah. But
No,
they're
but
gonna have to talk to an attorney.
if you speak to an
anyway.
attorney says, yes, this foreign buyer, it complies with the law, yes, you
Now,
can.
can I
move forward.
still do the showing before he's gonna go talk to the attorney,
You-
or he have to first go to talk to?
When you have a listing, you mean?
Uh,
Or when you represent a
yeah, when I'm
buyer?
representing a buyer, like he wants to buy something,
You can do that.
and I wanna show him 2 properties, let's say.
So
I
your
have to
first
do something
question is
first.
gonna be, are you from one of these 7 countries?
Mhm.
And if they
If I say
say
yes.
yes, then you're gonna say you need to speak to an attorney. Now, do you wanna waste your time potentially and show them around?
Okay.
So here's
Not
It's
a
up
only
to
question.
you.
this, Not only this, sometimes you work with a buyer, let's say you start some AI, and then they tell you, oh, you know what, I want Miami Beach, oh, you know what, I want this, I want. So we have to think, am I wasting my time over there because
Right.
it's near the airport?
Until there's a map, we won't know. And it's probably gonna be little areas that they can buy, but there's so much stuff, infrastructure.
Yeah.
But, I mean, where is it, and I get hung up a little bit on the question of discrimination, right? Because we can't ask nationality, but we can ask them, are you from these? If they say yes, can we ask them, are you a USC or LPR? Or, I mean, are you a legal permanent resident?
So now
Is it
you're,
based-
you're getting into the intricacies of the law and you're making the determination, or you're making a legal determination. You could, if you're wrong, they buy something,
Right.
$1 million property, and the government says you're a foreigner, and they take that property, guess who they're calling first?
Oh, yeah, of course. But I'm
Hey,
saying, I
my
can
realtor
ask them.
said I can do it.
But I can ask them, are you a green card holder?
You can, because you're following the law, right? So the law says, are you from one of these 7 countries? And the law says you're a foreign person if you are domiciled in a foreign country. So technically you can ask it if you want to. This is what I would be asking them.
Okay.
So you're going to say, are you domiciled in a foreign country, and are you not a citizen or lawful permanent resident of the U.S.? And then keep it very
And then
precise, right? Because this, you're using the wording of the law, which you're allowed to do. You want to be the source of the source, they say. You
Yeah,
don't want
source
to
of
make
the
any
source.
interpretations of the law. You don't want to give any bad advice,
Right.
because then you're going to hold yourself out to
So-
liability.
Peter, I would say if they tell us, yes, I am from, let's say I am Russian, okay, are you a US citizen? No, but I'm a green card holder. Okay, in that sense, I would then proceed as a realtor, right? I could then show them, I'll still tell them you should hire an attorney because at the time of closing, there is a affidavit you'll have to sign, and that's it. I
Perfect.
mean, leave it at that, right?
Yeah.
It's very unusual to not ask somebody where they're from. That is part of like common conversations you have with
But
people.
it's actually illegal for me to ask you, where are you from? But I can ask them, are you from these 7 nations?
Yeah, that sounds even more discriminatory.
I know, right? I mean, it's like, and it's such just conversation, right? I mean,
Yeah.
it's like,
I think people still will be asking where you're from.
Yeah.
It's just,
Just-
If-
it's just in your head, you know?
if you-
Yeah, ask
you can't
anybody where you're from.
Technically
Somebody-
ask, but you
everywhere.
can, sometimes they'll say,
Yeah.
hey, I'm from here, which is fine. You can take that information, but, and be careful, because, there's people out there who are bad actors that might call you, you know how they did the Section 8 scam, that they were calling you and saying, hey, do you accept Section 8? And then they would sue you based on that.
got
So
you. Try
now
to
if you have
catch
a
in
buyer
discriminatory.
that says, hey, I'm a buyer, and you say, hey, where are you from?
Mhm.
Big problems.
And the part about the Venezuelan Maduro regime, whatever. again, attorney is about to determine if that person, the Venezuelan person, is from the regime or not from the regime,
No,
right?
no, this is a way of just them stating Venezuela, that's my
Right.
understanding.
Is it, yes,
Well,
it's for
You
Venezuela?
have to understand the US, when there was some political issues a few years ago, they don't accept him as a president
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something
yeah.
like that. So since legally they don't accept him as a president or acknowledge it, that's why they say it's a regime.
Got it, okay,
So, but it is Venezuela.
okay.
Correct.
So it's Venezuela as a country, okay.
So going back to, okay, so it's 10 miles within the critical infrastructures. Now, there's a third note, and this is for foreign principals from China. They are prohibited from purchasing or acquiring any interest in any real property in Florida, regardless of classification. So regardless of that 10-mile radius, people from China cannot buy any property in Florida.
Wow.
I know a few
Those
years
Chinese
ago, yeah,
restaurants.
a few years ago, a friend told me that in Toronto, the Chinese used to buy unseen. They wouldn't even come to see what they were buying, just buying,
Mm.
buying.
That's scary.
Yeah,
I heard that, I did a seminar yesterday, I heard that also in Florida. They're picking up property like crazy, apparently, according to this person. I really don't see that here in this area, but maybe they're buying
that's
vacant
why.
lands or.
But still okay if they're a green card holder uses. That
Right.
part doesn't change.
Right.
If they're a green card holder, they can still buy houses.
Yes, so there are two exceptions, so there's a little light at the end of the tunnel. Not a lot, but there are two exceptions. The first exception is diplomatic purposes. That's an easy one. If they're a diplomat and they're here for diplomatic purposes, they can buy even if they're a foreigner. That doesn't really apply here.
Yeah.
The one that does apply is limited residential exception. So if the buyer is a natural person, so they're buying in their individual name, they may still purchase one residential real property up to 2 acres in size. If all of the following apply: the parcel is not within 5 miles of a military installation. 2, the buyer has a current verified U.S. visa that is not limited to a tourist visa. Or that person has documentation confirming that the person has been granted asylum in the U.S. And such visa or documentation authorizes the person to be legally present in Florida. And the buyer is buying in their individual name, not under an LLC or a corporation. And finally, the buyer is only entitled to one residential property, not commercial, not vacant land, one residential property.
Gotcha.
If all of those apply, a foreign person can buy one property.
One property. So they can live here basically. If you're a Chinese citizen on their, I guess, an H-1B or something, working at a company, you're allowed to buy your own residency, and that would be it.
Here's the other issue. If they already have a property here from July 1st, they cannot acquire any more. They're only allowed to have one, and they cannot acquire any more. Now, finally, it says on this handout, I'll send it to you guys, persons who are or may be defined as foreign principals of foreign countries of concern should consult with an attorney acquiring interest in real property after July 1st acquired. And this law will, it's acquired, if property is acquired in violation of this law, may be forfeited to the state. So we said that earlier. So that is the new law. So it's a lot to digest, but basically as realtors, just make sure if they say they're from one of those 7 countries, tell them to speak to an attorney. If they are not, as I said, business as usual, everything is good to go, and you can show them as many properties as you like.
So we ask them, speak to an attorney, I'm okay, I'm a green card holder. we can't ask them, show me evidence, right? Like, show me your past.
No, you
record.
can. So if they've spoken to an attorney, what you can ask is, can I get an email or a letter from that attorney? Or can I at least get an email from you stating that you spoke to an attorney and the attorney said you're authorized to buy?
What if
And then that way they send it to you, put it in the file, and you're covered.
So they have to hire an attorney? What if they're like, no, I'm a legal resident? and I'm
No,
okay.
they don't, but at time of closing, if they see this affidavit, and we have to tell them to sign, and they say, well, actually, I'm a foreigner, the closing has to stop. We
Gotcha.
can't move forward with it. Then the question becomes, what happened to the deposit? Does the buyer get it back?
Right, because
Does
it's
the
an
seller
escrow.
get it?
Oh, God, this is a
Who,
big
who,
cluster.
who defaulted there? So
No
that's
wonder
why
there's
it's
a
better
lawsuit.
to kind of
Yeah.
deal with
It's
this.
only for
Beginning.
purchase, nothing for rent, no changes for rent.
Correct, only for purchases and not deal with rentals, correct, yeah. And so I'll.
Hi, thanks once again for joining us. Thank you, John Ioannou in Florida, closing in escrow. #1 in South Florida, 5-star rating with the BBB, mobile, digital, wireless, remote, and multilingual. We're here to assist you with your title and closing needs and keep you updated. So be in contact if we can assist you. Cindy Mirapol, Marketing Liaison, 786-457-6832. And we're here to assist you with your title and closing and real estate success. Thank you once again from Bow Live, Brokers, Opens, and Tours Worldwide, Bow Live Global, and Florida Closing and Escrow.